As the first commercially successful rap artist, Kurtis Blow is a towering figure in hip hop history. His popularity and charisma helped prove that rap music was something more than just a flash in the pan novelty. He paved the way for even greater advances, that of Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC, and others. Kurtis Blow was the first rapper to sign with and release an album for a major label, the first to have a single certified gold, his 1980s landmark, The Breaks, the first to embark on a national and international concert tour, and the first to cement rap's mainstream marketability by signing an endorsement deal. For that matter, Kurtis Blow was really the first significant solo rap artist on record, and as such, he was a natural focal point for many aspiring young MCs in the early days of hip hop. Is a certified legend. This is the Black Press Live, and we welcome the legend himself, Kurtis Blow. Kurtis, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Stacy? I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. All right, how's it
Yeah,
going?
it's going great, Kurtis. Now that we have you, it couldn't be better. Hey, I'm going to jump right in because I think we might have some surprises come in on us a little bit. But Kurtis, it all started um, way back 1979, I believe. Can you just give us just a brief history lesson on Kurtis Blow and hip hop?
Well, actually, I go back a little further than 1979. It was actually 1973, 1972, even when I was 13 years old. I was asked by my friends, the older cats in the neighborhood, to come out and dance with them. They were a b-boy crew in Sugar Hill over on 141st Street and Amsterdam Avenue. And what happened was, they had heard the reputation. This young kid, this young little shorty, 13 years old, is incredible. He's got flips. He's got footwork. He's got the crazy James Brown dance moves. And so they asked me to be a part of their crew and be their secret weapon when they were going out and doing competitions at this other club that we used to go to way on the east side of Harlem, called Chuck Center. This is 1973, actually, when I was 14. When I turned 14, man, I was incredible as a dancer, and we had a crew. I was the youngest. I was the secret weapon. I mean, it goes all the way back with my friend. I think he's here right now, Mr. William Waring, Billy Bill. He was that kid, that older kid that asked me to, be down with the Hill Boys. That was the name of our crew. And thank you, Bill, for putting me down. There's another guy, Danny Harris is his name. He is also a musician in our neighborhood. He went on to become an incredible guitar player, but he was our other partner. Danny Harris, William Waring, Kurtis Blow, Tony Jones, Vernon. We had Ace Deuce. We had so many kids on our block that used to break dance, and that was my start. The love of
Right.
music, the love of James Brown, the love of dancing and being an incredible dancer. And so that's when I started DJing, because the DJs weren't playing the right songs that we could break dance to. So
Yeah.
I started DJing, playing that music that we all love. And that was my start. And then eventually I got popular around my neighborhood as a DJ. And then rapping started. I started rapping in 1974 at this one place called Wham on 152nd and Amsterdam Avenue. It's an old police station, and they closed it down and moved it down the block, and started this community center, and it had 3 floors of music on every floor, and it was most incredible. And I got up there and got on the mic and did my Hank Span impersonation. And the promoter, the owner of the community center, said, "You were really, really great." I rocked the house, and he asked me to come back next week. So I played there for about 6 months and stuff, and then started to get little jobs around. Ran into people like DJ Hollywood and Eddie Cheever, Lovebug Starsky. But when I went to college, when I finally went to college, I met Russell Simmons, and City College, CCNY, during that time was the #1 party school in New York City. And I had made up my mind that I wanted to become this DJ. I had this whole plan of action. I wanted to, break into the music industry and then make records and then make movies and then write books and stuff and do the whole Paul Robeson thing. But my first thing was trying to go to college to become a DJ and following Reggie Wells, who was the program director of WCCR radio station during that time. And I met Russell Simmons in college, Bob Malone, Rudy Sply, Spade 130, big shout out to him. All my friends that helped me become this popular DJ, because Hollywood was the #1 thing during that time. Eddie Cheever was rocking Charles Gallery, and then they went up to the Club 371. This is 1977. And so, and following that whole crowd, so much competition. I told Russell, I said, I learned in communications and one of my speech broadcasting classes that the way you become successful as the DJ or in broadcasting is you go out to the secondary markets and you create a track record for yourself and you pull out a couple of #1s in a secondary market. Then you can go to the big city and say, look, I'm #1 in the small market. Give me a job. I'm pulling out #1s. My ratings are #1 in the small market, so I could rock the big market. So I told Russell, I said, man, we need to open up a club out in your hood, out in Hollis, Queens. And we did. He listened to me. And we used propaganda. I played there for like a year. And at the end of the year, about 6 months later, he's got me on flyers. We're doing mobile gigs all out in Queens. And he's calling me Queens #1 DJ. That was my claim to fame. I was Queens #1, #1 in the small market. And then I went back to New York, to the Bronx and Harlem and Manhattan and said, yo, I'm Queens #1. I can get on a flyer with Flash now in Hollywood and all those guys. So then that went on for a while. And Russell and I actually, we departed from each other. We had a little spat. And so I went back to the Bronx, started hanging out in the Bronx again with all my friends that I knew from back in the days when I was in a gang in 1975, the Peacemakers, right? And so I got with Grandmaster Flash. I met Flash at the Club 371 with DJ Hollywood. And so Flash and I got together, and Russell and I took Flash out to Queens for the first time. First time he ever played in Queens, we took him out there. And after that, I just kept in touch with Flash. And so Flash put me down with his crew. And then I saw Melly Mel. Once I saw Melly Mel, it was on and popping because Melly Mel and I were in the same gang together at the Peacemakers. 3 years before I saw, oh my God, Mel, what's up? So we started gigging together. And actually, that's when I say that's when I really became an MC, because I studied Melly Mel, I studied Hollywood, I studied Lovebug Starsky, all these great DJs. And man, that was it, man. Just being a part of that whole scene before the records. Now this is 1978. Right. 1979 rolls around, and I meet this guy who's right here over here, Mr. Sal Avitello. Sal, I love you, Sal. Sal was the owner of this club that started out called the Disco Fever. Now, during that time in 78, 371 was the hottest club in New York City. They had a line around the block, right? You had to stand on the line for 2 hours before you got in that club. But the whole thing about it was, you had to wear shoes and silk dresses and shirts and suits and ties and
that
stuff
sounds
like that.
Hey, Kurtis, that sounds a bit like Studio 54, but you mentioned
exactly
Sal in the club.
Yes, exactly. So Sal, like Studio 54. But
Kurtis, let's bring in
Bronx. It was in the Bronx.
Kurtis, let's bring in
Studio 54.
Let's bring in Sal, so he could tell us a little bit more about that club and the connection, because we know you did, Curtis, you did some great things, not only at that club, but everywhere else. But Sal, what's your memories of Curtis and that club?
Well, Club 371 was definitely the club. We had opened up Disco Fever in '77, and it opened up as a 30 to 40-year-old, maybe 50-year-old R&B club. So it was called Disco Fever. At the time, disco was out. We had groups like the Joneses and Harold Melvin and Musique. So we would go in that rate. And then I started going around in the neighborhood. I kept hearing about this Club 371. It was an upscale, a dressed up place for, you know, 30, 40 and over. And, you know, a lot of bangers in there, a lot of street guys, a lot of players. It was definitely a players club. So I went in and they had this DJ in there, Junebug, small Spanish kid. And DJ Hollywood was the house DJ who was rocking it. At the time, he was mega. I mean, he was getting 2-3 gigs a night. He was the highest paid DJ. He'd roll in and out for like 15 minutes to a half hour. And he would do 2 or 3 clubs in one night. He was building up this huge following. So he was like the biggest celebrity DJ at the time. So when I saw Junebug, you know, I said, wow, this is somebody we needed, because I had a guy named Sweet G who was DJing at the Fever. And I know he was a great MC, but I know he needed a DJ behind him. So when I approached Junebug, convinced him to come over, because he really didn't fit into that club because of his age. He was very young. He was about 18, 19. And I convinced my dad to start hip hop, because I saw Sweet G at the end of the night. He's rhyming, and I'm watching the crowd, how they are reacting to it. It's making the whole place be as one person. He's chanting these rhymes, and he's saying, throw your hands in the air, and the whole place is throwing their hands up. And I'm observing this. I'm like, damn, man, this guy's like getting everybody to be as one in the club, but he's dictating what the crowd's doing. And I noticed that it was easier for the crowd to meet each other and interact. So I said, where can we find the biggest DJ in the street? Grandmaster Flash. So I go into the street, I go into the park, I meet Grandmaster Flash. I convinced him to come into the club, and I told him I'm gonna make him a star. You're gonna be a star. He's like, yeah, some white boy from the Bronx is gonna make me be a star, right? So just so you know, my family had black folks in the Bronx since I was 1 year old. So being in that environment was very comfortable for me, because I hung out there when I was a child all the time. My grandmother had a grocery store. My father had a bar. And so I was always in the neighborhood. So it wasn't something intimidating to me to be the only white person in a club with 1,000 people. So I convinced Flash to come in on a Tuesday night. And the first night, 600 people show up on a Tuesday. And then that was the beginning of it. Wow. And I convinced my dad that this is going to be the new movement. You know, the third generation young urban black kids from the R&B and the disco crowd. And it just took off. Then I brought in Love Bug Starsky, DJ Hollywood, Eddie Chiba, Reggie Wells, Sweet G, Junebug, Brucey B. It was unbelievable. I had a different guy at every night. We were 7 nights a week for 10 years. And then, of course, I met Kurtis Blow after he started hanging out there, and Christy Trap came in. We became very close friends. We discovered Mr. Magic. He was on WHBI, and I was a big sponsor. That helped blow hip hop up, because that was the first outlet that kids could listen to it on the radio, because they were young. Because the drinking age back then was 18 to party, but a lot of teenagers were listening to it. So that helped. And then we started the basketball league, the Rutgers League. Disco Fever played Sugar Hill in the first game. That league is still going on 38 years ago. Still today, it's still going on with Fat Joe and you know those guys, Jay-Z. So, you know,
well, Sal.
Yeah.
So Sal, you know, you and Curtis definitely share something in common. You guys give the longest answer to a question in history, but that's okay, because Curtis got some other friends here. he got some other friends here. David Rives, Dancing Doug is here. I mean, when's the last time we've heard from Dancing Doug? Curtis, what's up with this?
Man, that's my dude, man. Like I told you the story. Like back in '73, when we were dancing, when we started out, I was like, all right, I'm the best on my block, or maybe Bill was. Okay, I'll give it to you, Bill. But you know, it was like we had heard rumors that the best guy in Harlem, we thought we were the best crew. The Hill Boys is the number one in Harlem, definitely. And
They were.
but we heard about the Dancing Doug and Rockin' Rob, this crew uptown in the Polo Grounds back in '73. So Bill knew Dancing Doug, and so they met, and we just, every time we went out, we saw him at a club like over on the West Side, Marble Hill, and up in the Bronx, or maybe downtown at Nell Gwynn's, or up in the Bronx at the Executive Playhouse with Cool Herc. But every time we saw, it was like the best vibe. We hugged each other, shook hands, and he was like our mentor, or the guy we looked up to as the number one breaker. And so that was Dancing Doug. Dancing Doug was the man. I thank you.
Yeah, Doug, David, Rives, you guys jump in here. We want to hear your voices too. Talk about your time with Kurtis. Listen, y'all guys are still great friends, but we want to hear from y'all as well, because we have the legend here on Black Press Live, Kurtis Blow, Dancing Doug. You guys, where you been? Witness protection or something? Come on, talk to us.
I'm this is Davey DMX here. Kurtis Blow is one of his DJs.
Yeah, we know Davey D. You are the best.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, one for the trouble.
Go ahead, Dave.
How everybody doing? How you doing, Sal? Doug? Good.
What's up,
Good
brother?
to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Yeah, Kurtis called and invited me, so I figured, we friends for life. So whatever you need, man, I'm here. We traveled. We actually traveled the world. We went from like the parks to the garden pretty much overnight. Touring with the Commodores and all type of groups, Cameo, Larry Graham, Chic, Fatback Band, Function. So, Commodores had a lot of people on coming in and out of their tour. But the greatest show was at the Garden with Bob Marley. We opened up for was the most memorable show that I remember, being at,
Well, Dave, Dave was an incredible DJ. Remember, I told you I was hanging out in Queens, and Russell made me Queens #1 DJ. During that time, I met this other crew out in Hollis, Queens, called Solo Sounds. Now, Solo Sounds and Hollis crew, we started the Hollis crew. Dave used to live on 215th Street. Russell lived on 205th Street. And I remember many a nights just being out there, because we opened up that club, Night Fever Disco, in '77. And so that's where I met Dave. So when I got the record deal, actually, Sal, I was playing with Flash on those Tuesday nights when we started at Disco Fever.
Well, we had the open mic that night too.
Right. I was the MC for Flash during that time. It was me and Mel. But and then I got the record deal. So when I finally got the record deal, that was it. It was like, to jump into Lightspeed, and I made Russell my manager, and we traveled all around the world. But then I got this deal to go on a tour in 1980 after we did the Breaks, and Breaks was #1. The Commodores are going out on this 100 city tour, all platinum tour. And Allison Williams was working as a secretary for Benny Ashburn, rest in peace. And I went to college with Allison Williams. She went to school with Russell and I. And so she convinced Benny Ashburn, who was the manager of the Commodores, to use this young college student who had this hot song out. And so they put me on the tour. And what happened was, the story was, Run was my DJ. That was my protege during the time, DJ Run. He was a young kid, 5 years younger than me. What happened, he was playing basketball down the block with this other kid from the neighborhood named Jason Mizell, right? So they playing ball, and Joey Run breaks his arm. He broke his arm in 2 places playing basketball. And so he couldn't go on tour. He was like, yo, Dad, I want to go on tour. Can we go? Kurtis and I are going on tour. And he's like, no, you can't go on tour. Look, you got to stay in school. No, please, Dad, let me go on tour. No, you broke your arm. Look, you got one arm. I could DJ with one arm. Put his arm behind his back. Bam, 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 bam. All right. So he didn't go on tour. I needed another DJ. So that's when Russell said, hey, Dave DMX. So Dave had 2 MCs that he was working with. I stole him from his crew, Solo Sounds. And we went out on tour and did like 100 shows. When I got back, guess what happened? My protege, the son of Kurtis Blow, DJ Run, my disco son, started this group called Run DMC. And I said, oh my God. So the story is, if Run didn't break his arm, there would be no Run DMC.
How about that?
There would be no Davey DMX.
We're live with the legend himself, Kurtis Blow. We are inviting our viewers to send in any questions they may have. In fact, there's Kurtis, there's a number of admirers. Tommy Soros is checked in, Douglas Cologne, Ronnie Lowenstein, Josie Gonsalves, Cynthia checking in, saying hello. Louis Shellman says, man, I've been saying this for years, bro. Thank you, Kurtis. Listen, you got your crew with you today. You was talking about some things, back pre-1980. You were talking about Flash, and I remember being in Queens, and Flash was a legend even before the big songs, the big records, and everything. And when we heard that Russell was bringing him to Queens, it was like a big thing. You had all the groups. You had Cypher Sounds, you had Jamaica Sounds, Phase 2, Phase 3. Dancing Doug probably remembers all that. Hey, Doug, what was it like back then? And then you run into a guy like Kurtis Blow. What was that like?
Well, Kurt and I actually knew each other from when we were actually teenagers, before the big hit, the 79s and the 80s, when he sort of hit it really, really big. We used to see each other in Harlem, and we would dance against each other in Harlem. I started going up to Cool Herc's parties in 73 from the original 1520 Sedgwick Avenue to the Twilight Zone, to the Evolution, to Executive Playhouse. And because I used to dance against Bill and them at Chuck Center and Danny and Blue, that whole crew from the Hill, I always sort of went back and forth between Harlem and the Bronx. So he and I were friends for years. And I tried to be a DJ too, but Kurt was like so good at DJing and breakdancing, because a lot of people don't know he was a real bad breakdancer. People don't know that. So I can tell you now, he was the man too.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
So Kurtis, tell us about those skills.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, that was, to me, the happiest part of my life. One of the happiest moments in my life, other than like making the breaks and traveling around the world and representing hip hop and stuff like that, doing concerts and stuff. But those days as a B-boy, man, that was so much fun. And it was friendly competition. A lot of times there were fights, when we started dancing. There was gangs during that time, And so a lot of times, we turned the party out and start a fight at the end of the fight and stuff, and have to run home, because you danced better than somebody else. But do you know the original B-boys, the original breakers, we danced against girls first. It wasn't, it was like, and the girls were good. They'd take your hat and throw your hat across the room. You have to run and go get it. You know what I mean? They do all kinds of little games that they had. Take your shirt and pull your shirt over your head, and you can't see. And you're like this, It's crazy. It was crazy. And when you lost to a girl, your reputation was over. You were lost. You were done. But here's the other thing. How about if you won? If you burnt a girl and if she was pretty, you couldn't take her out. You couldn't go out on a date. She wouldn't give you her number. So you lost either way. Nah, you couldn't get her number, man. You know what I mean? So we started that, and that's why we actually, when we got older, when I turned 15, 16, and started looking for girls and stuff like that, man, my breakdancing days I started to DJ and MC after that. Amen.
Well,
But I
Kurtis,
got back into it actually after my records came out, and I started working with other people like, the Rocksteady crew. We did a couple of commercials, TV commercials and anti-drug commercials where I used breakers. And when there was a resurgence in like 80, 81. And Doug is actually doing a documentary on the whole history of B-Boying and what happened. Because when that resurgence happened, that's when breakdancing actually spread around the world, from the Rocksteady crew, New York City Breakers. That's when it internationally got really, really popular. And and that's what the breakdancing that we see today, that we remember, that's what breakdancing is all of these kids that came out in the 80s with the, the 6-step, the box step, and the windmills, the power moves, the head spins, the back spin, all of those moves that you see today that are so acrobatic and incredible and should be in the Olympics. And this is what we're fighting on and fighting for about breakdancing and b-boying. So, yeah, man, my heart goes back to the beginning. I will always be a b-boy. My favorite song is "Give It Up or Turn It Loose" by James Brown. Make it funky, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. You got, Sex Machine. You got all these escapism. I mean, incredible music of James Brown, and the love of his music, and the love of the DJ that played it for us, who was Cool Herc, the father of hip hop. And big shout out to him. Thank him for all those years at the Executive Playhouse, cutting up those songs that we love so dearly, playing soul music in a world of disco. And later on, Grandmaster Flash just like took to the next level with turntablism, giving us the break beats and the ability and the availability and the chance to shine or do more than just make announcements as an MC. When he started making those break beats, that's when we started rapping. And that was the transition
and Kurtis,
from b-boy to MC.
Right.
In 76, 77 with Grandmaster Flash. And
Kurtis, obviously you had a number of hits: the breaks, Christmas rap, AJ, basketball. You name it. There were so many hits. But what was the inspiration behind some of your biggest, like the breaks, like basketball, like AJ? What was your inspiration behind those? You mentioned James Brown. We hear James Brown a lot when it comes to hip hop, so we know James Brown is behind it. But other than James Brown, what else was your inspiration?
Well, that Christmas rap song, I have to give it up to my producers, J.B. Moore and Robert Ford. Rest in peace, Rocky. He just passed away last week. Robert Ford. And these guys were very creative and talented. They were blessed actually to come up with the ideas. Of course, me being a college student and just having this whole philosophy when it comes to rap, by bringing the culture into the classroom and the classroom into the culture. And that's when I came up with all of the different ideas to fuse with different forms of music, like rock and roll rap, like reggae rap, and country and western rap. I did on my first album a song called Way Out West. And just coming up with those ideas in college. But when I got to the studio and started working with JB and Rocky, the producers just really, really, not only did they make a dream come true, but they turned me into a producer because I was studying everything that they did. And, it's a whole new life. So the song Christmas Rapping, which actually was my favorite still to this day because of just the annual classic situation of that song. Everyone playing it every year since it first came out in 1979. And it's been an annual classic. So I just want to thank all the radio DJs and television personnel, on-air DJs who have made that song into a classic. But The Breaks was really a special song because it was my ode to the B-boys. I wanted to do a song. You know, producers came to me. Russell came to me and said, JB and Rocky, they want to know what kind of song you want to do for your follow-up of Christmas rap. And so I said, man, I want to do a song that has a lot of breaks in it so that the B-boys could do their thing. I want to do a breakdance song with a lot of crazy James Brown breaks. All right. So JB came up with the idea, the concept that this sounds like, you know, this old philosophy song is a connotation, the breaks, you know. So the song that came out in 1920s is like, hey, bucko, you say you lost your job or you got fired and your wife left you but don't worry, the sun is going to come up tomorrow. Everything's going to be all right. And so that song, the concept of the good things and bad things that could happen in one's life, just say, you know, don't worry about it. Just say that's the breaks, you know? So that's where the concept comes up. Of course, then you have the other connotations like brakes on a bus, brakes on a car, brakes that make you a superstar. So we put all of that together, plus the crowd response, which is very, very, very important in my first couple of songs, you know, using the crowd participation like DJ Hollywood. I put it on the record. And when you hear it, you know, it plays in the club. Everybody does that crowd response in the club. So you can imagine, you know, 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, throughout the whole country, whoever plays that song, the breaks, it gets to the middle part, and I go, throw your hands in the air. And everyone in the club is throwing their hands in the air like I'm
well,
singing
Sal's
live.
throwing it up.
You
Sal's
know what I
throwing
mean?
it up, Curtis.
Right. You know, say ho, and the whole club says ho, and I'm not even there. And everybody screams. And you hear 1,000 people who are in that packed club. I'm not even there, but they're screaming. And that happened all across the country in the summer of 1979. I mean, summer of 1980. So I am blessed, fortunate, and just thankful to everyone who supported, especially all the DJs around the country, JB Moore, Robert Ford. There's my boy Billy Bill right there. He's my writer.
And Curtis, we haven't heard from him yet. Let's see if Billy Bill can.
Basketball.
Well, Billy Bill, why don't you chime in here? Do we have him? I think we're still having some problems there. Sal, let me go to you, Sal. Sal, you know, Curtis has been mentioning some great stuff, obviously. What did that do for your... You with me, Sal? What did that do? Yeah, what did that do for your club to have such great innovative music at the time, and then going forward after that? Obviously, you stayed in business. Can you talk about that and what that meant to your business and the club business as a whole?
Well, I mean, you know, when we brought it indoors in 78, 79, and then they started making records, it started expanding it from just the neighborhood, you know, to the city. And then Kurtis had the first big record, and that really exposed it to the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure Kurtis was the first rapper on the Dick Clark show. Kurtis, is that true?
The
American
No. Yeah, no, actually, when I got there, Dick Clark said to me, he said, Kurtis, I met this young rapper last week. His name is LL Cool J. Let me tell you, I'll never have him back here again in my life.
Anyway,
really, really
Kurtis
bad.
was the first rapper to go gold and, you know, be on a major label, and it just set the tone for everything. I personally, you know, I feel that Kurtis should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've been saying it for many, many years now. It's a shame, and it's very upsetting that he is not, because he was the first big star, and he set the tone for everybody else who wanted to be like him, LL and all the guys, you know, Run DMC. And as it progressed, Kurtis just started bringing it bigger and bigger in 82 and 83. And he came out with a second album, and Daydreaming, and that was a big record. And then we did the movie Crush Groove, and Kurtis was the star of the movie. And, you know, it was just a great ride. He got married. I was the best man at his wedding. So we've had a great relationship. But what he meant to hip hop was far beyond the recognition he gets, and it's very upsetting for me.
Oh, thank you, Sal.
Doug, Doug, you wanna weigh in on that? What Sal just mentioned about Curtis?
I think that Sal is absolutely right because Kurt definitely belongs in the hip hop hall in the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, Curtis,
He definitely belongs.
sometimes they wait.
He belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, hands down. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no suppose. You know, you think about it. You look at everybody who sort of came up. You got guys who rode off other people's back. Kurt didn't ride on anybody's back. He did his thing from day one originally. I used to be at 371. I left the Cool Hercs parties and went over to the down to the clubs, Nemo's, Ipanimas, and all that kind of stuff. But then coming back uptown, started going to 371 and Disco Fever. So I used to be the Fever. Won't believe her, you can't leave her, you know. But the bottom line was Kurt was rocking from way before then. Kurt was rocking. I'm gonna tell you a story. I was thinking I was gonna be a DJ one day. We was on 159th Street, Amsterdam Avenue, and we were partying against each other. And I said, Kurt, I'm going to school, become a DJ. And he was like, yeah, Doug, I'm gonna keep on doing my thing out here. Next thing I know, he's on the radio. I'm out there in CW Post. All they had was 4 hours of jazz. No, they hadn't heard of hip hop at the time. It was like, hip what? Talking on the records. Why are you talking? You know, so that was dead for me. So, you know, but Kurt was rocking from way back when. So we talk about way before everybody got known. It was him. And I said it from my heart. I love that brother from the time we was teenagers. But I have nothing to say, but I know he was a B-boy from day one. He was a hip-hop king from day one.
You know,
No
Curtis has songs that have such memorable lines that people use all the time in their songs or on the mic, like up in the Bronx where the people are fresh. There's only one DJ who rocks best. You know, AJ, the breaks. These are the breaks. If I ruled the world, playing basketball. I mean, all these lines and these hooks that he made are still relevant today, and people sample his music all the time.
Yeah, and we got somebody watching Curtis from Germany, Paolo Montagni, and forgive me for not pronouncing that right. I know I didn't, but he's from Germany. He says, "Greetings from Germany to my friend Kurtis Blow, Walker, and his friends." Terry Austin, thank you for doing this show. She's learning lots of important history behind our hip hop music and culture. We are with the legend himself, Kurtis Blow. Curtis, today's artists may be a little different than when you guys came up and broke new ground. Is there any artist today that you listen to?
Well, you know, I'm strictly old school still to this day. So my 70s funk, my 60s funk, James Brown, I could sing his songs backwards. You know, there's Jimmy Castor and the Castor Bunch. Of course, people like First Base and The Melting Pot by Booker T and the MGs and Apache. Doug's song, Listen to Me by Baby Huey. You know, all these classic breakdance songs I still play. I can listen all day, you know. But I do like other forms of music too. You know, I can listen to some country and western for a while, some rock and roll for a while. I love all music, man. I'm a big fan of The Clash, you know, going back to the 90s when I got with Joe Strummer and Mick Jones and hanging out with The Clash. So I'm a big fan of rock and roll. I love the new hip hop of today. Kendrick Lamar, you know, you got J. Cole, Future is doing his thing. Even Nas is represented. I love hip hop up to date. There's a lot of good stuff that's out there. A lot of people don't like it, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the young kids out there keeping this thing still alive. You guys, this is your world. Go ahead and out there and get that money, feed your family, take care of your peoples, and we have the opportunity. Hip hop is the #1 music in the whole world. on the planet, on the face of the globe. The number one music streamed right now is hip hop over everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, God created hip hop and it's yours, you guys. So do with it whatever you want. Do
Can I
with
say
it
one
what you
thing?
Curtis,
can.
you. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
I have to say one thing, and this is really, and not to say, so bring like a little shade into the game, but right now we have this whole thing about hip hop being started, you know, when you got people who, and I'm not knocking it. Remember the disco era was a disco era. I love disco. I used to go to disco clubs, everything. But you got guys now who were in the disco era was saying, yeah, well, I was hip hop. And I'm like, no, technically you the disco kid, you know? And nothing wrong with that because it's two different genres. And I'm not knocking it. I said, we used to do disco music and stuff like that. So it was all music. But, you know, people who come back now and try to morph and blend everything, saying, well, you wasn't doing this and you wasn't doing that. And I'm like, no, actually, we was at your party too. Because we used to go from uptown to Bronx, downtown to the clubs too. Because we were going everywhere. And so you have people they call nomadic b-boy, who went from b-boy party to b-boy party to b-boy party, like Charlie Rock and them. But so, you know, we had the original b-boys like Sasa and Trixie and Bobo and you know Charlie Rock and you know we had all these guys. So we want to give them credit too because if it wasn't for these guys breakdancing, and we know they say breakdancing or hip b-boy dancing, that kept this whole genre going, and then it became from that the mic with Coco Rock on the mic and stuff like that. And then all these other DJs rocking, but that whole experience from setting hip hop up and making that raw music, that the songs that Kurt was just naming, that raw, hard funk music that set it up. Then you got guys picking it up afterwards and say playing that too. So it's nothing wrong with that. I want to make sure people understand we had two different genres, but it was a beautiful thing, and it's nothing wrong with being. Like a lot of guys are fighting about who's the first b-boy, who's the first this one, who's the first MC. It's not about being first. It's about being on the timeline, that you on the line that shows you contributed to this genre that we have now that's all over the world. And that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Stop being fighting that. Let's roll with it, you know? Roll with it. Roll
Yeah,
with it. Roll with it.
and you know, Curtis, John Hairston is watching. He says that they still play your music at 1067thebridge.com, and he says that your music, your lyrics were positive, and we missed that. Can you speak to that? Because there's been all types of lyrics and messages sent through hip hop.
Well, you know that's just my I'd say my personality, I guess. You know, I always thought it was just me trying to have some integrity, you know, some honor, some class. I remember back in the day, 1979, I did this interview. It was me and Sugar Hill and Grandmaster Flash in the Furious Five. We were on a national interview called Radio Scope. That was a national radio show that was all around the country. And so this was the first interview for hip hop on a national basis on the radio. And so Reverend Jesse Jackson, I had met him a week before that, and he was telling me, Curtis, look, you guys got something there. This is something that's really, really special. And I think that you guys are going to go a long way. But what you have to do is keep it clean. You got to keep it clean so that people will accept it. If you don't, then they're going to just, you know, not accept it, and you won't be successful. And so I went back and I told the guys, Sugar Hill, Grandmaster Flash, and I told them what Jesse Jackson had said. And right there, before the interview, we all decided to have this code of ethics, is what we call it. And it's like, you know, we wouldn't use profanity, and we try to keep it clean, like Reverend Jesse Jackson said, so we could spread it across the nation, and it would go national, and it would go, you know, international. And for the most part, I did that for my career. Over 200 rap songs, never used profanity. Is my thing, and it actually became a problem for me in the middle of my career when everybody started to turn hardcore, you know, and then gangster rap. So, you know, I sort of left hip hop alone for a while and found God in my life, and then became a minister 10 years later. But just my whole style of music, I would say, that was something that, I just was trying to have integrity, some class. We came up with this rhyme like, I got style and I got class and I don't pop my stuff too fast.
Kurtis, earlier, and Doug and Sal can jump in too on this, but earlier you alluded to Crush Groove. There was Breaking. So early on there was movies, right, that we tend to forget about. But today, hip hop artists are making big time movies. Recently, we had Ice Cube on, and we know Ice Cube has become an international movie star as well as a hip hop icon. Did you foresee, when you were doing Crush Groove and movies back then, did you foresee hip hop artists becoming crossing over to the movies like they have Will Smith, you name it, Nas, all of those guys, LL?
Well,
and Sal and Doug can jump in too.
Well, like from Crush Groove, that set the tone, and then Fat Boys came out with Disorderlies. So right away, you had two rap movies come out. Not taken away from Breaking and the other one, but they started come and look, when you go on stage and you perform in front of those people, that's like acting also, because you're into your character of who you are on stage, which is maybe not the person you are. Now, I mean, they're fantastic actors, DMX and LL and all these guys, Salt and Pepper, and look at the reality shows. These people are acting on those shows too. They're so talented, some of these people. So yeah, I definitely seen it, because watching the Fever for 10 years, you could see the progression go up. Then I opened up another Fever in 92, 93, which I found Method Man, Wu-Tang, Lords of the Underground, so I got a second win, and then they were really starting to see the talent, the beyond hip hop and rapping, and emceeing.
Well, I go back to 73 from the Herc spots, and I used to say from 74, 75. I can
tell by your beard.
I know, right? I see you shave, Sal.
I shaved for this.
I see. I thought it was gonna be a radio. That's why I didn't want to shave it.
We didn't tell you.
But what happened was, I used to always look around and say, in 77, I took Kool Herc out to Queens College to play. And that's the first time we hit him with some real hard uptown funk, right? Queens College. But then after a while, I said, like in 1980, I said, they still breaking? They still breaking? They still, because we did it so long ago, we thought it'd be gone. I go into college, all my life. Come back 85, 90, y'all still doing that? 2000, y'all still doing that? Now it's all over the world. And I'm like, you know what? Now we're going to do a documentary to show an evolution from that very beginning, going to, the Flash and the band, from Herc to Flash and Bam, to TBB. We got Abby and Batch, those guys that started TBB, which then started Rocksteady, and it goes to New York City Breakers and Dynamic Rockers and all these different crews that came out. And you see B-boys dancing, going, hit the water, go across the world. Now we got people like, I had a guy write me from Russia literally yesterday, asking about the Black Lives Matter stuff. Am I okay? They call me granddaddy now. So that whole thing, to see this whole press and go across the world, that, you look at Kurt. Kurt's one of the guys right there. People always talk about the rap part. I say the B-boy part, because I'm going before that started happening. I go before the rapping. Before he became super rapper, he was a B-boy. So I'm going to grab his B-boy stuff and hold on to his B-boy thing. That's what I'm holding on.
Thank you. I need to hold on to it too. Yes, sir.
So Kurtis, again, like I was telling the guys, I was saying just a moment ago, you see the evolution of hip hop. Did you see this happening? Did you see this happening, Kurtis?
Well, it was always my dream. I'm writing a book right now, my autobiography, and I'm telling the story about me in 1972 when I was in the 8th grade, junior high school. I was in extra progress classes coming out of IGC, intellectually gifted children, right? And so career day. His career day, 1972. We got the policeman coming to our class, and he's talking about, oh, you want to be a cop? We had this one accountant come up and talk to everybody. Oh, if you want to be an accountant, we had this a female nurse who came up. If you want to be a nurse, blah, blah, blah. And I made up my mind right there. I want to be a DJ. I want to be a DJ, and it came to me. This whole dream. All right, first you're going to be a DJ, then you're going to you're going to get on the radio as a DJ and meet people in the music industry and get a record deal. Then you're going to make records like Hank Spann and Gary Bird. Remember him, the GBE? Remember he did that song, Mr. President, what did you do last night? It was me and Mrs. Jones. Remember they used to play songs and say one of them funny records. I wanted to make a record like that, right? Gary Bird, GBE. And so after that, then I was gonna get into movies and then start producing movies. And then I was gonna, in the twilight of my life, I was gonna write books and then paint because I'm an artist. I can paint. And so that was my life. I just plotted out my life and, man, started planning the plan of action. I went to college, majored in communications, you know, got the record deal, praise God, met Russell Simmons and everything. We got the record deal, made the records, and, you know, it was a dream come true. God has blessed me with success. And I just thank everyone along the way. I can not stop thanking everyone that even Russell Simmons, I love you, Run DMC, I love you guys. Sal's here, I love you, it's the best man at my wedding. Doug, Dancing Doug, Billy Bill, Robert Ford, JV Moore, Davey DMX, so many people, even Puppet and her sister Nettie. I love you guys, man. I miss everybody.
Kurtis, so you'll know we had Russell on about a week ago, and he had some great things to say about you. You know, he mentioned your influence even on him, and he told the story about you actually named his brother Joe Run. So we do know that the love is reciprocal. Kristen Simon says thanks for inviting us. Her and Michael Simon are tuning in. Jacoby Jokes is a young artist who works with Chuck D, a Public Enemy, and he says he's honored to be here. And he's asking, what advice would you give artists about labels versus ownership of their music?
Wow, that's a pretty good question. Well, just some general advice I would like to give out to all of the youth that are listening. Whatever it is that you want to do in your life, whether it's doctor, lawyer, businessman, rapper, singer, breakdancer, education, education, education. That will give you an advantage over everyone else. It's so competitive out there, this world, that you need to have an edge. You have to have an advantage. So study. Take the culture into the classroom and the classroom into the culture. And study. Do your research. Find out. Here's the thing. Study the history of this subject, whatever it is. If you want to be a lawyer, study the history of law, of lawyers. And within that profession, pick a couple of successful lawyers and follow their steps, analyze their steps that they took to achieve their success. You repeat those steps, and I guarantee you too will achieve success. So that's the advice I want to give to all the young people. Research, research, research. Number one. But now to answer the specific question about the music industry and how, you know, these labels, I think that nowadays the independent route is the way to go. Record companies have been losing, oh my gosh, the industry itself. To sell a record is non-existent now. So everyone is streaming now. We stopped buying records, physical CDs and records a while back, ever since that Napster thing happened and everybody started downloading music for free. It's like the whole industry has been, wow, just it's crazy. Turned down.
Yeah.
Right. So
Kurtis.
So now the main way for you to make money, your income comes from your publishing, writing your song. It comes from your live shows, and it also comes from streaming. Don't get me wrong, yes, but it's very, very minimal. This monetary payment that you get from streaming. So look into it. Be careful. I say the independent route is the way to go. Selling records out of your trunk or getting on a stream, and promoting your stuff on radio by yourself, getting with the different promoters and the online promoters that happen. There are many websites and many streams, many different independent promoters that you can get to and have them promote your stuff by way of radio, by way of. You have to own your masters. Definitely, you have to own your masters. That is very, very important. And your publishing is very, very important as well.
You never know.
Writing the song. Because you get paid from when your song goes on the radio. When it plays on the radio, you get paid for it. And that's publishing. That's called publishing. You also get paid from the record company paying you for the physical records. That's called mechanical publishing. But look into publishing. I definitely recommend everyone to look into publishing. You have no excuse in being ignorant. You need to go and Google publishing. Go on YouTube and get those programs, those tutorial programs. Like I'm saying, you need to stay on top of the information that is coming to you and that's available to you from this music industry. All right. And that's it. That's basically it. Research.
And our final moments, just two questions. And the last question will be for everybody to just give their final thoughts. But Terry Austin writes in, Kurtis, that she can't wait for your autobiography. You have an important story to tell the world. Kurtis, can you briefly tell us a little bit about what to expect in that autobiography?
Well, I basically tell the story of my life from birth, to actually talking about my mom and how she was a single mom raising two boys, moving from Alabama to New York City, and how she became a seamstress and went into business for herself, dresses by Minnie. And then, this young kid who used to just want to be like his mom because she was a great dancer and she is a lover of music. And I became her DJ at 6, 7. And then, going into my academics in school and, going to college. And then, of course, the music industry and meeting Russell Simmons and JB Moore, Robert Ford, Davey DMX, everybody, Sal, who's here today, the music career and the pitfalls of the music career. And how I found God in my life, and God changed everything around me, and He changed me. Amen. So I just tell that whole story.
Sal and Doug, we got like 3 minutes. So can you give us your final thoughts before we get Kurtis's final thoughts?
I give it to Sal.
Hey, what's up? Well, like I said, I've been lobbying for a while for Kurtis to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think that's the most important thing right now. He deserves it. The age he's at, the longevity, he's still performing. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is about longevity. Kurtis has been doing it for, like 43 years already, 44 years. So, I mean, there's people in there that, I think he's the same caliber. And I'm pushing for you, Kurtis. And
Right.
I want to thank everybody. I want to say hello to all the guys. The FIYAH was the greatest time of my life. We were open for 10 years, and hip hop has been a big part of my life and still is. And I'm working on a movie for myself also right now too.
I got
great, Sal. We're looking forward to that.
That's my brother from day one. I love this brother from our heart. We've been doing stuff for years and years. We now travel the world together, doing trips and stuff, and we're doing this documentary about b-boys. So that's an important thing for me now to make sure we put that that person in line, in that chronological line of being a great dancer, besides being a hip hop legend. He's the four elements of hip hop being the MC, DJ, graffiti to the left there, and b-boy dancing. Kurt has three of them. Three of the main three: the b-boy, the MC, and the DJ. A lot of people don't have that, and I say that's my credit to him. I say that.
Well,
Thank you.
well, Doug and Sal, we're gonna have to have y'all back when those projects are finished. Kurtis, final thoughts from the legend himself.
Well, my final thoughts. I just want to thank everyone for listening, chiming in, watching us. I want to thank everyone who helped me along the way. So many names that I probably will forget a few, but people like my mom, Miss Minnie Walker. I love her. I miss her so much. My brother Kim, Billy Bill. You guys saw him today. Floyd Lee, there's J.B. Moore, Robert Ford, Sal, who you guys see my buddy Sal, Russell Simmons, Davey DMX, oh my gosh, Reverend Run from Run, Sweet G, Disco Fever, man. I just talked to him. We're working on a new project right now. All my whole family, me and my wife, I've been married for 36 years, and she is my everything. She saved my life about 5 times already just praying. She's a prayer warrior, right? And I definitely, the rest of my family, my son Kurtis Jr., my son Mark, my son Mikey, all of my other family, man. I got to shout out Tracy and Deneen and Patsy and Mama Hall and Kimberly down in North Carolina, and Floyd Lee. Man, all of my people who have been around. I definitely want to shout out the Universal Hip Hop Museum, Rocky Buchanan, Adam Silverstein, Reggie Peters, all the 35 people, 40 people sacrificing their lives and their time to bring this museum to fruition, opening up in 2023. Go to uhhm.org about the museum. Also, my IGC crew, the Intellectually Gifted Children. 50 years ago in 1968, we were in the specialized academic, incredible class of kids that still keep in touch with each other still to this day. And we're all over 60 and we love each other. Got to shout out the Hip Hop Church, man, coming back, hiphopchurch.org, hiphopchurch.com. Find out more about us. We're coming back. The virus shut us down for a minute, but we're coming back in September, so look out for that. Big shout out to the Office of the Nightlife in New York City. I'm part of their board. I'm a board member, and we are making progress and recommendations to the mayor about ending all of the crazy situations that are the chaos that's happened, and the Pandora, the coronavirus. I want to just shout out everyone. I'm praying for you guys. We're still in this epidemic, and we're coming out. And I see a daylight through the tunnel, but just compassion and empathy for all the families who have lost someone, and all the people who have caught the virus. And you're blessed because you have God in your life, and God bless you to survive this crazy virus. And I just thank God for everyone who is getting through this. And we're stuck in the house for the last 3 months. It's like solitary confinement. I hope you guys, it's a mental health thing, you know what I mean? So let's keep our sanity, and pretty soon we'll be back out there, and we're gonna party like it's 1999. Amen. So
Hey Sal, Kurtis just gave his Hall of Fame speech. So just so you'll know, he just gave the Hall of Fame speech right there. All the thank yous and everything. We appreciate it. And Kurtis, listen, one last thing, and I gotta let you guys go. Are you still b-boy dancing?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard right now because I had some heart issues. I had some real heart problems, but I'm just getting back. And I say another 6 months, I'll be back out there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I forgot to say this. I forgot to say. I want to thank all of my fans out there who have supported me all of these years. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you know what? You guys are not my fans anymore. You're my friends, okay? So holla at me. KurtBlow.com.
We will be at, hey, Sal, we're going to be at the Hall of Fame speech, and we're going to stream that live when it happens, okay? Listen, this has been a great history lesson from the legend himself, Kurtis Blow. We've been celebrating all month long Black Music Appreciation Month, and it's nothing like having a legend on. Dancing Doug, we appreciate you. Sal, all that you have done. You are also unsung, and we'd like to sing for you. We thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you Friday night with Jody Watley. We'll see you then. Stay well and stay safe.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Nice.